not mine. Hi, Patricia. Hi, I'm also live on the tube if you want to go find me there. So, we're going to be discussing today the very most important thing as it relates to all of this alchemy that I'm bringing forward, and that is the energies of Jing, Qi, and Shen. And I have all kinds of visual aids, so it's going to be super awesome. So this is another way to use Chinese medicine to contemplate your whole body, your whole self. I need to change how this is mirrored. There we go. Okay. The Jing, Qi, and Shen, the correspondence of these words, especially the Shen, which I'm speaking to often, are the three virtues of Taoism, which are compassion, moderation, and humility. So behind me on the wall, okay, are two of the three wise men. I have the scholar in my bedroom. I should probably change that. But the fellow with the fishing pole is Lao Tzu, and he is the like inventor of Taoism. The one in the middle is Confucius, who you might know from the trope of an ancient secret. Confucius is how modern scholars, to the degree that I'm able to perceive, is associated with the I Ching, which is the full divination from China that is like quantum divination. It is so challenging, the I Ching. If you're attuned at all to human design, he has a lot of I Ching in that model. Okay. But the cool thing about China, at least as it relates to the alchemy, is their systems. So, all my pattern recognizers, all my autistic humans, all my neurodivergent, if you have a lived experience that does not make sense, this might be a nice little place for you. So when we're contemplating consciousness, okay, one of the problems with the human is you and I have the ability now to perceive and imagine ourselves in ways that are not natural. Doesn't make them wrong. Like now that we have been to the moon, we actually know what the planet looks like from the moon. The ancients, they didn't know that. They just had the moon. I'm Gen X. In the 1990s, many things occurred. Something very important that happened is a whole bunch of us got together and built you the first matrix. The first matrix, Web 1.0. From like a technical perspective, Web 1.0, my friends. My role in the creation of the internet as we now know it today was to seed neural networks with ethics so that by the time information got to you for you to make a buying decision, I wasn't also fucking up actual organic living beings. Hello. We're talking about Jing, Qi, and Shen, and Katie's CMY as I continue to get ready to self-publish and then convince you that you need to spend like 40 bucks on a thing. You should also spend $30 on the media library. But so how do I want to say it? My roommate, when I was seeding Yahoo Web 1.0, my roommate was one of like 15 people on the planet who determined how the cables would be laid. He determined global fiber optic placement. I don't do anything in the third dimension, okay? That is a lot of math. There's a lot that you have to do. Sadly, whatever, but his mind, I was like, how the fuck do you figure that out? First of all, I don't do hardware, okay? I don't do anything in the third dimension. I hang out with that weirdo, Lao Tzu. Okay, he probably didn't even exist. And I was like, how are you doing that, Justin? And he would say, by Buckminster Fuller logic. Buckminster Fuller is famous for coining the term tensegrity. He didn't invent it, though. Indigenous humans invented tensegrity. Tensegrity is the geometry of birds' nests. Tensegrity structures in nature are trees. Our nervous system is a tensegrity structure. I don't fucking understand how you do it with machines. However, at the time, this guy named Michael Gosney, who invented the CD-ROM, took me under his wing and was like, let me teach you about media. So there's no reason for you to know who Goz is or was. He's dead. But you probably have heard the name Timothy Leary. I would think that is not a name that is new to you. Goz was a protege of Leary's. Goz was a admirer of Buckminster Fuller. Goz used to give me lots of letters, Lucy in the Sky, and guide me in consciousness tensegrity. So that when I was being the ethos for data and helping companies do e-commerce, and that had turned into enterprise application integration and all this shit, my background, this is really important, okay? My master's degree is in propaganda. I went to Carnegie Mellon, okay? My whole thing is we should have an awareness of how we're being guided in information, ideally. What has now happened with Web 3.0, pretty much everything is fed to us, which is amazing from a like finding things perspective, but we don't get a curated experience. And the way that algorithms learn is the same. It's through tensegrity principles. So the first thing it's super duper important to know is as soon as we're talking about ideas and consciousness, as humans, we have a tendency to think the world is this big. I can assure you, it is very much not. Most of humanity has a global awareness now. We have an idea of the globe. Very few of us understand planet. Okay, logistics, cross Atlantic shit that I've done before. That makes you have to think about a planet. Anybody in telecom doing decision making, even going back as recently as 10 years ago with our 911 system here in the US, that's just a 3,000-mile problem. Completely impossible, by the way, because most of these are still done by switchboards. If you're a first responder in a certain way, you have to have a landline. Like, because people know that, okay? So anyway, so somehow Michael Gosney lying me down and teaching me about split consciousness, and I had already been like fully immersed in non-dualism for decades. When I had my stroke in 2019, there was a sub-process in my mind that went right into a lot of what Michael taught me about consciousness and the political science that I've put in this model. So when I started to say things like, hey man, polyvagal theory doesn't work because there's no gravity in it, and I had to like prove it, I said, well then fine, I will just do it as though. And I'm just speaking like a story. This is like, how shall I say? This is unscripted. Please ask me questions. But this is Katie's recollection today. So I had a stroke in 2019. I forgot I went to Carnegie Mellon. I forgot that I built Yahoo. I forgot. that I'm trained in negative dialectics. I forgot that I'm trained by, oh my God, let me show you this guy. They're all men, of course. However, these are all men who I know, or at least as ethical. This is Edward Tufte's latest book, Seeing with Fresh Eyes. When he trained me, we were just starting to do, again, e-commerce. Tufte is a professor emeritus at somewhere in the Midwest, but I always want to put him at Princeton. And he teaches tensegrity. He teaches the magical mystical of the fucking, I don't understand a suspension bridge. How is it that I can drive over the GWB and survive? And you guys, I grew up in Pittsburgh, which has more bridges than Venice. And I'm terrified of falling off a bridge. Terrified. So where do I go after grad school? San Francisco. Yeah, the bridges are amazing. Okay. So anyway, so Tufte was my teacher. I don't remember him teaching me. I just have retained a lot of what he teaches. Back when I was still in STEM before my brain exploded and now it's broken. But you could still hire me for a lot of things, by the way. I'm very useful, just not practical. Tufte uses tensegrity principles to talk about and to demonstrate ethical broadcasting of information. One of the things that he starts people off with is music, but he often will go to something like the weather report. Let me see if he's got that in this book. I have sent every engineer who is any value to me personally, which means like just about everyone, because I love an artist engineer. I've sent so many people to Tufte. Right now, my former dominant partner, who's being my editor, he reminded me that I sent him to Tufte. I forgot. I cannot tell you how messed up memory gets when your brain explodes. So anyway, so tensegrity is a principle. I have all this training I don't remember, but I'm not supposed to, okay? Because the wise man said, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. And so the only law of Taoism is do not worship the written word. Okay, I never contemplated it that way before I started really deconstructing and contemplating decolonization in data, in big data. So this whole thing started, this is an algorithm design, just so you all know, okay? Someday I'm going to be like, hey, and somebody's going to say, please, let's do it. But so this is what I would call an uncarved block, in that if it was in a liquid, you would not be able to perceive it, right? These are super popular right now as CMY cubes with the magenta, cyan, and yellow. And then you can like see all the colors. I don't have a cube of that, but I think this is like close to whatever the platonic solid for human is. Close to, it isn't exactly. And so when you turn this in the light, it creates a refractory kind of a thing. And do you see how it changes colors? So digitally, I don't do math. So if it's attached to a number, I don't do it. But hex codes digitally speak to CMY, because when I want you to perceive something through digital, I'm using this. This is much more like a pigment than it is actual red and yellow, right? This is not primary. This is not a primary color. This is a primary color. How, what? So anyway, magenta, Barbie. So what I did is, if you see the decapitated lady behind me, that's my mother wound. That's Susan Jean Zitterbart. Okay. Because my rule is that I have to model everything in dimension, in the third dimension first, before I make any claim to you, because it's very easy just to say, oh, she just looked it up on the internet and blah, blah, blah. So no, I didn't. I actually have been avoiding the internet. But magenta is your mom was Barbara Jean. I don't even know what that means right now, but I love it. Cosmic cultural. Mystic 369, may I say to you that our friend, who's his name? Not the Edison guy, the other one, Tesla, Tesla's 369 are Jing, Qi, and Shen. 3 is Jing, 6 is Shen, 9 is Qi, but let me see if I can do this as so that it's correct to your eyes. It's more like this. The 3, 6, and 9 are aligned to the summer constellation. I'm just getting into the astrophysics. God, it's hard enough on the planet, but I'm able to interpret and perceive all of this because I know the law. Yes, I am showing how colors relate to our perception of reality, our perception. And because this is my model and I'm using Chinese medicine, Kim, I'm so glad you brought that up. This magenta is Katie's version of the consciousness of that red right here, which is our heart. And lucky for you and me, the alchemist also works with the double fire element. Your Chinese medicine doctor also works with a double fire element. I'm not teaching you double fire. That is literal thermodynamics. So Chinese medicine gets parsed into hot and cold, makes sense, like yin and yang. Okay, Katie's medicine is genuinely, how does water behave? Water, because Bruce Lee told me to be like water. Ooh, I love this. Is the 369 the frequency of the chakras? This is not specifically chakra. Where the chakras would occur in this model, though, is in the magenta zone in the visible light spectrum. And as it relates to like the torso of a human in Taoism, if this is your spine, yes, solfeggio, I have this all mapped to solfeggio as well. But also we have to contemplate how we're tuning to A, but let's look at your spine. The chakras are you can contemplate them as the very end of the nerves, as if your nerves were flowers, it would be the very end of the dendrites. And a dendrite in a nerve, this is like all shit that I forgot that I knew. And I was like, how did I become so clever after my stroke? Oh, I just fucking forgot that I knew all of this. But the dendrites, when they communicate with each other across the space, that's what all the like dopamine stuff is, okay? That's why I take Vyvanse. That's why I take sertraline for PTSD. They're like tentacles. The brain is a prismatic environment without external light. I personally have 100% blindness on the inside. I also have amnesia and I have tactile synesthesia. And I have navigated hundreds of hours with this man, I say hundreds, I'm sure it's only tens, Jean-Claude Coubertin. He's a French hand surgeon. And he takes endoscopic pictures while he's doing surgeries. Can I tell you, I just put it together like right now that I'm a fucking pianist and my dad was a pianist, and maybe that's why I'm interested in the hand surgeon. But when you look at tissue that's alive, it does not behave, occur, or even appear at all the same as the connective tissue is contemplated by medical doctors when they're doing surgeries or autopsies. Totally different. So just like Michael Gosney, inventor of the CD-ROM, gave me some Lucy in the Sky and taught me Buckminster Fuller logic, and my roommate Justin also used Buckminster Fuller logic to wire the planet. And our friend Wayne used the Buckminster Fuller logic. I don't remember, but the logic is the logic of infinity. So tensegrity structures as an information architect or a mind architect have the ability to scale to infinity. I don't want to get up right now to find my model. But the principle of tensegrity is two fixed, one fluid. Okay, so right now, Lao Tzu and Confucius are fixed. I'm fluid, water. Yeah. And Buckminster Fullerene, yes, the sexagenary cycle of Chinese medicine, actually, and the I Ching are both buckyballs. And in the alchemy, we are contemplating at Shen in the brain. It's called the Crystal Palace. So the location of the Crystal Palace is the structure that generates and governs. Isn't that amazing? This is my favorite bowl. Is this Paul? I don't know which one this is. I'm working back up to sharing music live. I have to share. I have 10 pounds of ice cream weight from my winter seasonal depression. This is one of the hardest winters I've had since I had my stroke in 2019 because I feel so good. And it's still not okay for me to be in the world because people aren't wearing masks. And the risk to my body, risk to my body, I just found out from my oncologist last week. If my cancer comes back, it will be in my bone marrow. But I do bone marrow qigong. Okay. Whatever the essence of me is, when I had my cancer all by myself at the height of the pandemic, I was like, I am going to become an atom in my bone marrow. Do I know Sabrina Wallace? No, but I'm sure I would love to. Hibernation is a I'm glad that it's worked. This is not good. This was not good. I have a friend who I haven't heard of her. I have a good friend who's had to go in-house the last couple of few years with ECT. I mean, there are some of us who like it's very flippin' difficult. And so I just ate all the ice cream. Anyway, that makes me not want to share music, is really what that goes to. And I was just telling you about my friend because I love them and I'm worried about them. So anyway, tensegrity. If if I like drew our connective tissue as a piece of architecture, it would be a geodesic dome. The type of tensegrity that fascia exhibits are called tessellated and kinematic. Believe me, all I've ever contemplated with tensegrity is fixed and fluid. It's like roots, yes. Oh, thank you for saying I'm pretty. So the fixed and fluid, okay, once we're like contemplating things, then we have to like actually make some decisions. And I don't like making decisions. I like using other people's decisions. So I'm going to go to the little humans room, and you're going to, if you want, in your environment, find something yellow, magenta, or red and blue, or whatever. I don't know. We're going to have fun. I'll be right back. How you doing, David Katie? Great. I also need to get something to eat. Something to eat. I'm gonna have some peanut butter and pretzels. Okay. Oh, here's my tensegrity model too. My cats must have been playing with it. They try to eat this. This is a tensegrity model. This is my favorite snack food. This water. This is the safest today foods. Okay, so now we're just hanging out in the room. This is a tensegrity model. So the principle is two fixed, one fluid. So the fixed parts are these lighter knobs, and the heavy, these things. What are those? Like the I don't know. This would be like your bone. This is a joint. This is fascia, essentially. And thank you. No, node, that's the word. My God, it's an array. It's a tensor. Interesting. It's a Merkaba. And if I press on it, it comes back to its shape. That's what our body does, right? That's resilience. Our nerves grow through tensegrity. It doesn't look like this, but that's how they grow through tensegrity. Two fixed, one fluid. The cool thing about Taoist alchemy is what is fixed and what is fluid can change at any time. But you always have at least three factors. And the archetypes of those are Jing, Qi, and Shen. Jing, Qi. Here we go. Shen. Pretend like this is magenta. Jing maps to yellow. Qi maps to magenta. Shen maps to blue. Earth, fire, water. This fire element is not the same as the fire in our heart, though. This is the element of perception. This is the element of deception as well. So part of what propaganda does is it fucks us up at the corona. Some of what's happening with our just awareness in general is, as an example, this is actually my left hand, but it's on the right side of your screen because I should be looking at myself like I'm on a stage, not like I'm in a mirror. So Jing, Qi, and Shen are the three archetypes of energy in the body. Compassion, moderation, and humility are the three virtues of Taoism. Length, width, and height is how we measure volume. So there's like three ways to contemplate these. One is fully alchemical through the elements. One is practical through like measuring in third D. And then one is impractical but fun, which is what can we do with our mind, with our ideas? The way that Taoism weighs these, because these are not equal weights, is Jing goes with the earth element. Regardless of alchemy, this is always going to be the heaviest element. Okay, this is solid, solid liquid gas. This is solid. So, like thermodynamically, whatever the math is, this is when electrons are moving slow enough that we perceive an object to be solid. We perceive it to be solid. It's actually mostly space. So the way that electrons, neutrons, and protons go around the orbit in an atom is very similar to the way we orbit the sun. Does it have the same geometry? No, who gives a shit? The sun is the center of the universe, of our Milky Way. The sun is the nucleus. And then the planets are like doing whatever. It is a um, what's the word? Analogy. It's analogous. So this is the heaviest. This is a piece of paper. This is the first two dimensions. This is what happens when yin and yang exists, something exists. That it means existence, not sentience, existence. And so Taoism measures and labels and contemplates the body as part of the planet, not even as part of your immediate environment, as part of the planet. The way that China binds that alchemically is with the Great Wall, but we're just going to have an idea about it. So Jing is the earth element. Jing is the ground that you and I stand on, but it's also then whatever we're looking at. And if what we're looking at is digital, we're actually looking through Qi. We're not looking through Jing if it's digital. This has to do with cognitive science, okay? This is the danger zone of Taoism because this is where we label and measure, is in the Qi zone. From a like a biopsychosocial, mental health model, Qi maps to the social realm. This maps to humanity, not just human, but humanity. So there's the planet, there's humanity, okay? And then we get heaven. Heaven in Taoism is not the same as heaven in Christianity or other contemplative things. Heaven is sentience. And it's labeled Shen because they label it Shen. I think because it lets us get out of the body with our ideas while staying in the body, because Chinese medicine is using Shen to do the labor when they put the needles in. So isn't that cool? Here, I didn't know a lot of this stuff before I had my stroke and like didn't die and all that stuff. And then I was like, how come I didn't die? What do I know? And I was like, who taught me all this stuff? Because like I had a stroke. I forgot I went to grad school. Couldn't have come from a book. It must have been like somebody taught me something. It helps to see it with the tools. It does. Okay, now excuse me. It's time for a little crunch. Hmm. Peanut butter is the perfect food. Unless you have a nut allergy or a peanut allergy, then it's nowhere near you. Um, so the whole CMY, I don't have a CMY too, but these geometries that have the filters on them so we can like see different colors. This is how we perceive the world. This is not what a CM, this is CMY. This is CMY so that you can see it. So I asked myself, if I was in the very center of a clear cube, where would the CMY be? And if somebody was like turning it, how would I communicate their bias? Because when you and I are, we don't have the same perception. That's why these are part of why these are so fun. Part of why trip toys are so much fun. Part of why everybody's so into certain kinds of assisted psychotherapy, because it resonates through the tensegrity of our nervous system. And the geometry of a human is the geometry of three: length, width, and height. We are beings of three dimensions. We can perceive and measure many more clearly with all the flippin' like quantum stuff, but we can only exist in three. So what this alchemy does is it creates bridges so that the human body can be like a little bit away from the equation, and then it gives us space to contemplate. And again, the thing that does that is called a Shen. This represents the energy of Shen. This is not a Shen. Lao Tzu is a Shen. Shen are entities. They are not objects unless it's a program, like a computer program. They're entities. And the Shen as entities do different things. And depending on if they're in the Shen, the Jing, or the Qi zone, they will behave differently. So as practitioners, we're guided towards compassion, moderation, and humility, like fear. Yeah, the Shen that would be associated with fear is Zhu of our kidneys, shock, and calm. And the way that the Shen work is very much like gas exchange when you're breathing. We take in oxygen, we let out carbon dioxide. So the Shen, do I have a thing? The Shen bring Shentegrity is what I call it. Shentity is good too. Shentegrity is the invention of Katie. That's what I made up. Hold on. I just found my part of a microphone. So, okay, so I don't know where that is, but the Shen bring the affirming emotion towards and guide the challenging motion away. However, there's no judgment and there's no primacy on like a positive emotion. The primacy is, are the Shen like treading water happily, or do they have to like do all this work because shit's going on? So, what else do I want to share with you? I want to humility as not like, oh, you know, oh, no. Humility as understanding the scale of human within the context of the animal kingdom, not human as a person with land. So the politics of Taoism, because everything, all teaching is political, all of it, 100%. This politic is the Tao that can be named is not the Tao, meaning when I say this is a Shen, not. It's guiding us to something else. Jing. This is a symbol of Jing. It is not Jing itself. Qi, it's a symbol of. It's not Qi itself. So this tunes to, they're called the afferent, AFF, the afferent pathways in our sensory motor cortex and the afferent pathways in our central nervous system, the receiving aspect. The receiving aspect of our nerves, that's what responds to trauma and stress. The receiving. Then we get measured based on the actions, based on the movement, the efferent pathways. If you're contemplating these ideas, that is fully efferent. None of this exists in the third dimension unless we make it by saying, this is this, this is that. Otherwise, these are just kids' toys. And part of what happens is these labels have a tendency to stick with us. Oh, especially with this fucking attachment theory bullshit, right? What's your attachment style? What's your attachment? Do you know what your attachment is? The umbilical cord. That's it. That's the only attachment a human has. The only natural wound of a human is our belly button, which, by the way, never closes fully. So we actually have mouth, anus, and navel. Chi is your navel. This is your anus. This is your mouth. But they're all together through our fascia. So the fixed from Jing, Qi, and Shen in a consciousness perspective, these are fixed. This is fluid, but they can change what they are at any time because we're magical, mystical alchemists with this. There's no yin and yang here. Yin and yang happens with like the organs and our emotions. It's very complex. It's very nonlinear. There's a lot of fractal to it. There's a lot of recursion. And it's guiding us again and again and again and again towards Jing, which is earth, which if I come to your house to do feng shui with your furniture, I need to know where this is because it's about you, not me. Not only do I need to know where that is, I need to know what north, south, east, west is. So I've never done anything in the third dimension. But if you apply this to the body, like to the inside, then it's not in the third dimension, at least according to me. I've been wrong my whole life. But this becomes the earth of you and me. This maps directly to your spleen and to immunity through the spleen. This is the thymus gland. I have used pendulums. This is the thymus gland. This is the lymphatic system in the brain, or some part of the brain, probably the inner ear. I don't know. Nobody's ever mapped the brain this way until me. Because I said, well, if I survived my stroke by forgetting that I built Yahoo, I must have done it through information architecture, not through physical architecture. It's very good. Anyway, Jing Qi Shen. So when I come to do feng shui at your house, I'm working with this. I'm not working with this. This is how we tend to think about each other. This is what's actually happening. And we're not all nice little square blocks with north, south, east, west on them. Oh, no, 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 no. Some of us are triangles. Some of us are like random pieces of driftwood. Some of us are eggs. Some of us are this. I mean, it's whatever. I don't know. I'm not you. Okay. But if you're having this experience and I'm making you have this experience, you're not going to be having a good time. Not going to be having a good time. So we're taught as practitioners, you're a lumpy pine cone. I love that. I'm a bramble bush. I'm like Watership Down. Hello. What time is it? I'm starting to fade. Oh, I have a watch on. Is it seriously only 7:30 and I'm like ready to go to sleep? I should not watch the news. Truly. But anyway, Jing, Qi, and Shen. Jing, Qi, and Shen as three treasures. Okay. That makes these mine, and you have yours. This is life or death. This is a binary. We do not treat Jing as a binary anymore in Western medicine because of how we use and how life support has been implemented into emergency care. So correct, Berg, too. Don't watch the news. We no longer have a binary relationship to death as a species. We have a nuanced relationship to the singular binary. It's very strange. The man who's responsible for it, his name is Peter Safar. He's one of the humans who raised me. He invented the modern emergency room. He invented, um, well, go get my, go do my YouTube. Soon I'll have a book to sell you. So what I'm doing is writing down the somatics part, not this part, but the like practical stuff, and then mapping your brain to the Jing 2, the fancy chart that I'm often in front of. And then you meet Shen through, they're called the extraordinary vessels. So the 8-sided bagua corresponds to you and your environment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Piece of paper that I'm using, 7, 8. The extraordinary vessels, that's our literal evolution as humans. That's where we experience inherited trauma. The extraordinary vessels are often the focus of acupuncture that's relating to like complex psycho-emotional pain, gynecology, like all that kind of stuff. Because the main organs are your lungs, liver, kidney, spleen, and heart, not your testes and uterus and, other things. Okay. Starting to lose it. Lose it as in steam, losing steam. Jing, Qi, and Shen. Free body problem. Physics. We could make these planets if you need to. I don't know why physics does that. It's much easier to do at the atomic scale. You don't have to turn yourself into a planet. Of course, I don't do math. So if I make it atomic, it's minuscule anyway. It's like imaginary. But also, then it's nuclear. So there are a whole bunch of cells in our body that do both fusion and fission. There just happen to be 8 types of cells that do both fusion and fission, starting with the zygote, which is you and me as a fertilized egg, and then ending, most complex, with cancer. Cancer cells do fusion and fission. That's why they grow so fast. Do you know what else does fusion and fission? The mitochondria. Do you remember learning that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? Fusion and fission. Little nuclear whatever reactors. I don't understand it. That's very complicated to me. Also, it resulted in a big bomb that I'm afraid of. I would much rather contemplate how water moves. Water is the densest in its fluid state. So by positioning Shen at the head, Chinese medicine is saying it doesn't matter what I can perceive. I am bound to the gravity of Earth, and my experience, our experience is much slower than our perception. So the way that this goes is solid, gas, liquid. That's one of the tricks. Okay, now I am honor bound to disclose all of the magic secrets to you. I know that it's confusing because this is all new information, but I am not supposed to be fucking Confucius with the books withholding. I'm supposed to be Lao Tzu with the fishing pole hanging out. Tao that can be named is not the Tao because it's a big fucking trick. So Shen is water, H2O, not just fluid, water. That creates the planet. Oh, thank you. I'm really happy to share this. That creates the north and south pole of the planet. I said it creates it, meaning just like as a way to contemplate. The North Pole is frozen yin. The South Pole is frozen yang because water floats when it's frozen. So the poles of the planet operate, they do this for us. The poles of our body. Polarity is a way to sustain the negative space, which physics likes to call dark matter. If anybody believed in living tissue, a lot of their problems would have been solved long ago. But we have this inheritance of the global slave trade in the history of gynecology and the history of psychiatry. And so we're all just going to like hang out with these guys who didn't have the problem. I'm serious. The just even Darwin, he was not the only person contemplating, by the way. He won. He gives us survival of the fittest, not balanced ecosystems with appropriate top predators or whatever. No, he says, oh, everybody's fighting to survive. That is like the subtext of the Hippocratic Oath now. What about zoology? He was totally a cult. Yeah. Zoology. So I'm coming to this like zoology and embryology because I don't like the men, okay? I enjoy my teachers, but I'm so sorry. The peen intervenes. We all have a little bit of a peen, but the peen intervenes. And right now our world is being run by men who don't have foreskins, who are generations into not having foreskins. Tensegrity is entropy. So we have a problem on Earth of entropy. And how do I want to say this? Yin is entropy, yang is negentropy, Shen is movement at absolute zero. But that gets us into the Merkabas. Where are my Merkabas? See, because once we like make a claim or once I change something, then we have to show it. Shit, where's my Merkabas? I pulled them out because I was like, I'm going to be really clever. Oh, there they are. Okay, hold on. Okay. Katie's model of consciousness with the magenta because I'm transparent that I'm interpreting all of TCM. 5 Merkaba representing the 5 phases or the 5 elements of Chinese medicine. Water, wood is green, metal is white, earth is yellow, fire is red, but as like sepia tone, like actual things on the earth, not as the like rainbow light spectrum. This Shen for this organ is also called a Shen, which means I can do anything with it, including turn it into, where's my other one? Here we go. I can turn it back into magenta, red and magenta alchemically. Okay, once I'm magenta, now I have Jing, Qi, and Shen, where Jing and Qi become yin and yang. Magical mysticals. Magical, mystical. Yin and yang, practically speaking, are a dipole magnet. They can never be separated. I used to contemplate it as, oh, the squiggle has a little bit of this and a little bit of that. No, they're a magnet, and the squiggle would be like if this was on an invisible string and it like goes off and like does things and then comes back. Particles and waves. So the Shen is the operating principle. And what that creates, now we have a trigram. Yes, they are a magnet because they are poles. North pole, south pole, equator. This is the part we don't perceive. This is 2D. This is the surface of the page. This is the Mobius factor of whatever the Mobius of 3D is, which I believe is a sphere, because there's no such thing as a perfect sphere. So this must be the 3D, whatever the pi r squared. It's infinity. As soon as you hit a circle, you're done. Okay, so we're not going to do that. We're going to just hang out with some ideas. One more cubes, which I need to remember are there. 3D Mobius is a Klein bottle. Klein bottle is the it's a 4D bottle that we are shown. I don't understand that. Also, physics will show a shadow of a higher dimension to say like, oh, this is what like a 4D crystalline blah, blah, blah would look like. They show us the shadow of it. And then fucking Carl Jung has you convinced that shadows are a problem. Carl Jung has us convinced, I'm not anymore me, thank God, but he is the world convinced. No, shadows are shadows. Waves are waves. Perception is perception. Shadows, though, actually, maybe yes, because shadows are the fucking like one of the ways that we experience the waveform collapse. But we need shadows to perceive dimension, like literal dimension. Have you ever tried to like figure out how far away something is in very bright light? It's difficult. It links inside and out. No light without shadows. It's a colonized view of shadow. Jung fully appropriated Taoism. He appropriated Freud as well, but he appropriated Taoism. Inside the sphere is the same as outside, like a Mobius. Like they're not even dark when you can truly see them. They're bioluminescent. I love the fact that bioluminescence exists. That's the part where like creatures create their own light. Shadow looks glittery to you. I like that. Because Neidan, inner alchemy, is about darkness. It's not about the shadow, it's about the absence of light. The absence of light is what a seed needs in order to grow. It needs the stem needs a place to reach for light, not the roots. The roots reach for nourishment. I know that's not true for all plants, but it's essentially basically how a plant works. And then the plant is taking in our oxygen, our carbon dioxide and giving us oxygen, photosynthesis. So I don't know which parts of us photosynthesize, but Taoist, the inner alchemy map has a whole like thing of trees in it. You're in Australia, shadow would be burning in the sun. Yes, the dream time. I do not understand. There's nothing Aboriginal about me, but like that I remember that the dream time is the real time. All of this is an illusion. Van Gogh, our buddy Van Gogh, who cut off his ear. I want to show you. This is one of my cosmic collages based on Van Gogh. And these are all renderings. This is a rendering of my sensory motor cortex. That's me with my stroke. Sunday in the park with George. Working with song lines in the ground. Thank you. It's a little terrifying. But all of this came from having the stroke, not from having cancer. Telluric. I don't know what that means. I like the word though. Is that like telluride? Let's ask my computer. Telluric. Of the earth. Terrestrial. Yeah. So, yeah, that's very cool. My phone just dinged at me. What did it want to say? Is that my friend? My friend has an upset tummy. Is that my friend telling me about her tummy? Okay, good. She's okay. Jing Shen. This is what's missing from Western medicine. Gravity. So most of what we're being attuned to is to be able to like report appropriately on our environment, or thank you. I'm glad you like it. Tell everybody about it. Go to the link tree and spend money on my shit. If you have it. I put together a media library that there's a 2-hour masterclass on connective tissue. There's a whole tour of the inner landscape. You learn all of the elements, all of the folks that go with them, all of the exercises, and then it also has handbooks and flashcards and stuff that I've written. Our bodies run like a solar system. According to Taoist alchemy, fuck if I know, I didn't make any of this up. But the way the alchemy works is Shen, when Shen is consciousness, when it's the idea of, then we have to say, well, what's yin and yang? Because yin is only yin because of its relationship to yang, not because it exists. There's no, the inner alchemy talks about true lead and true mercury, which is primordial yin and yang. In our body, that's the plantar fascia. That's the bottom of our feet. That's us existing. Magenta glasses. That's amazing. I think what is a good thing is to have something in your environment that's tactile while you're interfacing with media, just so you can remember that you exist. Perhaps you don't forget. I forget that I exist. Yes, all you need to be non-dual is 3. I've taken this to 347 million dimensions. All you need is 3 to get started. Length, width, and height. Blue glasses work too. Those create filters, right? So there's filters and lenses. Let's forget about filters on the whatever that is, the Tic Tacs, and contemplate lights and when I used to be on stage and they would put like filters over the lights to make the lights different colors. That's a filter. A lens is my glasses. The only yin yang is non-dual. Taoism is non-dual. So the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. As soon as we name something, we separate it. You have 3 different sliced die in your hand right now. Well, let's not like hurt your hand. Yin, Yang, Shen. as above, as below, as though. Okay, so as above gravity, as above what I'm looking at, that makes me yang to the yin. As below, as below what I'm looking at, that makes me yin to the yang. As though, straight ahead. Um, in some systems, yes, as above is water, as below is earth, not in Taoism. It's sea level. 10, 12, and 20-sided die. The Bagua operates like a D20 with I don't know that like the chances of it are actually the Bagua operates like a magic 8 ball, very much. 12 has to do with our cranial nerves and the cycles of the sun. This is attuned to the moon. This is all attuned to the night sky. And I'll just mention again, very specifically, the summer constellation. I am not an astrophysicist. I don't do astronomy or astrology, but the stars are Vega, Altair, and Deneb. So if you know those guys, Altair corresponds to our corpus callosum. Vega corresponds to our nervous system. And Deneb is our body itself. Orion's belt. Does Orion's belt show up in, I'm sure it does, but I can't like right now pull it out of my ass, and I don't like pulling stuff out of my ass because alchemy has enough bullshit in it anyway. But the inner child is visualized fishing with the Big Dipper. Fishing with the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. Is that's not Orion's belt. It tilts in the winter southerly. Cool. I don't know about that. My neighbor just got home and they're like, oh, kitty cat, kitty cat. Okay. Roll going down. It goes direct over the head in summer. What is it? I'm afraid I'm not on the same part of the tree of the conversation. The summer constellation, Orion's belt. Yeah, so I guess just off the top of my mind, Orion's belt would be a way to contemplate the belt meridian in our body, the midline of the body, like the body's equator. But I'm not sure that that's true because I don't bother with the stars. I have hard enough time on planet Earth. But I will tell you that everything that you already know and whatever system you're already in fits in Taoism because it's a like a tofu system. There's even our arousal energy is not, there's no moral anything placed on it. It's all based on ethics, not morality. So it's based on appropriate use of power. We are very similar to planets. Planets are similar to atoms. Like if you think about it, I don't know if you ever did this. I used to go like way out into the stratosphere and then like all the way in because I would be like, I bet there's a whole universe on this on my thumbnail. Like somewhere in there is a cell of a people and they think that they like have the whole internet, but they're not. They're just, I just was like, even as a kid, contemplating that way. Astrophysics and quantum physics are the same if you take the third dimension out. But I don't understand their math. I don't know how to do that. Horton hears a who, little Whoville. Or what Louis Pasteur called wee beasties. Louis Pasteur gave us pasteurization, which is one of the reasons that we live longer. And when he identified what needed those pathogens, he called them wee beasties. Quantum absolutely has gravity. Absolutely. Every physics idea is based on gravity. I thought that that meant that Einstein's relativity had been proven. So I designed the totality of this, chirps. I designed the totality of all of this, believing that Einstein was a law. And I said, I'm going to give that to the Bagua because that's where it goes into the third dimension and we'll just make it Einstein. So quantum is absolutely. So there's quantum, Newtonian, and relative gravity. Is gravity, I don't know what the fuck gravity is. I just know that it's the thing that makes all the stuff happen. Nothing exists without gravity. We don't exist without gravity. We don't exist without water behaving weird to gravity when it's frozen because it gets lighter, not heavier. Then, as far as electromagnetism, there are ways of contemplating things that are not bound by electromagnetism. I believe that's where we get into dark matter, which I'm suggesting is a volumetric that we can actually measure through Jing, and Shen. If you know where to place this, which I know where to place this in every direction and every dimension, up to 347 million. You just set it and forget it though. Like, fuck, if I'm going to do all the from 1 to 347, I'm just going to do 3 and then extrapolate based on that using Shen because I'm a sneaky bitch who built the internet, or at least Web 1.0. Never realizing how much of a neuroscientist that made me. That makes sense. Seeding anything that's supposed to grow organically is seeding for intelligence. And we were doing search and retrieval at Yahoo, not just pushing. Like we get all of our content pushed now. It's all push. Follow your nose, first cranial nerve. Mm-hmm. That's where Lao Tzu sits. Totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just today I finished the last writing the last bit of now what is I'm just doing all my citations. I didn't think I needed citations because it's just these are all facts, but my dominate, okay, who's like a fancy whatever the fuck robotics engineer says I need to have those. But I mapped the 12 cranial nerves to the Jing 2. I did a whole live stream on it today, such that the olfactory nerve all the way to the hypoglossal nerve, which is the first to the 12th cranial nerve, not just the 10th cranial nerve. We have 12 cranial nerves, 12 days of Christmas, 12 months of the year. Why is everything based on October? Which is also an 8. We have 10. We have 8 where we should have 10. Gravity and quantum mechanics isn't verified experimentally. Gravity and quantum mechanics is the problem with the waveform collapse, correct? I just started reading about nanotubes. I just got into Penrose. I've been hanging out with like the cognitive science theory folks most of my life. But gravity and quantum mechanics, the way that it ends up in TCM is quantum maps to metal, specifically the metal element and the water element together. Newtonian, like classical uh, physics maps to wood, and then relativity maps to whatever's left over, fire, earth. Fire, earth, water. Huh. I can't remember. Yes, fire, earth, water. Oh my God, the three, everything seems to be density and magnetism. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. But you and I have to exist in order to ask the question. We have to exist in order to ask the question. No human exists unless there's a fertilized zygote. There's our 1D, the cell that we are before it starts multiplying. It's not mom and dad coming together. It's the fertilization of one egg, which would make the umbilical cord our string. So Katie managed to do all of this without any math, just based on the fact that you exist, you and me. It's not chicken and egg. It's the fucking uterus. At least it is in this system. Yeah. So quantum maps to metal, Newtonian maps to wood, which, by the way, are Hun and Poe that Jung stole. And then there's the other three. With gravity, haven't we managed to merge general relativity? No. Waveform collapse. I could be wrong. I'm not and I don't do like that kind of physics, but the waveform collapse, this is the whole problem. The book is just your body. All the big heavy science shit got so big, Trick Light, that draft is like a 400-page document. So what I did is I pulled like 150 pages out and I turned them into might have a working copy. Um, turned it into a back. I just made myself a technical writer again. I don't know where it is, but it's going to be about 150 pages color. That will be the pages are encyclopedia. There are a bunch of tables that have all kinds of mappings of like your brain to the immortals to this to that. You learn all the 5 phases. Each element, each of the 5 elements has like a 9 or 10 page spread with information on your meridians, the organs, the season, as well as the exercises and everything. Then there's a whole section on the Jing too, which is the inner landscape. And you meet all of the Shen many different ways because there's more than one way. And then, then I take it into the epigenetics with the Bagua, and I turn the Bagua into your body. So there's the Bagua of our environment. If somebody comes to do Feng Shui, this is cosmic Feng Shui. So I've mapped the 8 extraordinary vessels to the 8 immortals. These are mappings. I'm a cartographer. I'm a map autistic. I'm a map autistic who cannot do math. I'm a map autistic who can't do my 6s and my 7s, which is fucking quantum mechanics. My avoidance of math my whole life turned into I just fucking feng shuied the concept of Western medicine by avoiding doing anything in the third dimension because I don't fucking do math. And then I had to re-engage with my dominates because I was not having proper management of this. Channeling from the place. I am not channeling though. That's the thing. I have actually, I totally get why you're saying, but I have spent years, I've been contemplating Taoism since I was 11. I'm 55. I read my first theoretical physics book when I was 13. It was this guy, not this book, but this guy. Where is it? Friedrich Capra, The Tao of Physics. He wrote a book called The Turning Point in the 80s, which my mother had in her library. So I read The Turning Point. And then at the same time, this guy, Douglas Hofstadter, published a collection of his essays called Metamagical Themas, which turned me into a cognitive scientist and a human who wanted to do AI at like 14 or 15. So it's not channeled. I reverse engineered a universe. I reverse engineered the universe, essentially, by using propaganda and gravity and data. Yes, I can actually say that, and I think I'm getting ready to like make a case for it. And when I say reverse engineered the universe, all I mean is I was like, what would I do if, because I want the Jing 2 to be the next Yahoo. Because remember, I invented Yahoo with a whole bunch of those guys. Where is my picture? Where is the Jing 2 image? Here we go. So I was like, how would I navigate you through this such that you're having a transparent CMY experience so that you know when you're going in based on your pathway, what's your bias? Or is there a bias? This book is amazing. This is a acupuncture textbook. I don't do acupuncture, but it says things like, when the Ren vessel is diseased, men develop internal clumping and the 7 kinds of bulging, while women develop vaginal discharge and mobile abdominal masses and gatherings. What? I don't know what that means, but it goes with the Ren vessel, which is not part of Stimpy, but this is the landscape. And so I just want you to know where you're going in. Ha ha ha, community gathering. Yeah. Okay. So that is part of this. This is in there too. Just so you know, like it's not all just coming from my mind. Here's the Atlas of Human Anatomy. This is what your doctor studies, medical doctors. So I am the yoga instructor who trains with medical doctors, not with other fucking yoga instructors. Okay. I have a master's degree from Carnegie Mellon. I can get into all kinds of spaces. I would much rather study with the scientist than the popular mechanic, as it were. And I opened right up to the brain stem. That's the vibe. We need the mix of both. Okay. It is time for me to wash my face, get horizontal, not look at any news, do some more editing. I have to do some more, whatever, annotations. I'm pretty sure I'm done with it's gonna feel incomplete, but also like amazing. Proper confusion. Proper confusion, okay, with Lao Tzu, not asshole confusion with Confucius. Confucius is an asshole. We need him to do the I Ching, but not to just live. We don't need books. We need environment. Okay, live long and prosper. Namaste, motherfuckers. You're amazing. You're a whole ass human, no matter what you've done. Shalom. I will see you soon. This was streaming on YouTube the whole time. So you can go to my YouTube and also look at this. Okay, bye. See you later. Okay.